Right, okay, folks, welcome to another Nice and Nasty. I actually thought that when I started this podcast that this guy was going to be the first person on it, but that's not been the case. But you all, if you're a regular of the channel, you'll know this guy very well. He's a good mate. I mean, we kind of got to know each other through YouTube. He's appeared in numerous videos of mine, including the Sid Show, 12-hour live streams, God knows what else. It's Mr. Chris Whillock, aka PantherUK. How the hell are you, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm good. Life has changed, but I'm peachy.
It has, and that's great. Can I say I mean, you guys obviously can't see this, but he's sporting a mightily fine beard. I mean, that's just epic. It's something like, is it the Vikings? I think it is. You just need the little
Oh no,
ponytail thing at the front.
the plan is ZZ top length, then a full big plait, mate.
Yeah, you absolutely suit it, mate.
Thank you. The other half likes a big beard, so I thought, well, it means I've got to shave less. Let's have it.
No, good stuff. But yeah, it's been. I mean, it's been a while. Obviously, people that know you as PantherUK. I mean, you were kind of well known for, you did a lot of the Sid stuff where you converted Sid tunes into stereo. That's pretty much what you did.
Well, yeah. I mean, I haven't stopped doing that. It's kind of on hiatus. I have got,
Yep.
although I've got to get in touch with him again. I have got a 4-disc anthology of Jar and Tell to sort out. That's been sort of like fucking 4 years in the making. But yeah, I haven't stopped. Just I've moved house. Those that you know know what happened in my life previously, and I've got a new partner, and we've decided to live together. But unfortunately, a full house, putting all my stuff in here, there's just no room. So all my computery stuff at the moment is safely ensconced in a lockup. And at some point in the future, I'll dig it all back out again. But at the moment, it's Chromebooks and telephones. But she did let me put my arcade cab in the living room, so it's not all is not lost. She's a good girl. I love her a bit.
She's a keeper, mate. She's a keeper for sure.
Well, that is why. I mean, I was supposed to, like you say, I was supposed to be the first one on here, and I made the list months and months and months and months and months ago to do this podcast, and then life things have happened, giving care to people, changing jobs, moving house and stuff like that. And every time we were due to do it, because we were supposed to do this last week as well, weren't we? Every time we were due to do it, something has just come up, and I haven't been able to. And to be fair, mate, because you're such a good mate, you're a very understanding man, and here we are doing it now. I mean, I'm not going to go into it, but you know the whole story. So yeah, you've given me a little leeway, basically.
I mean, listen, mate. I mean, I've it's YouTube it's just a hobby. It's always just been a hobby, and it's a hobby that I do enjoy. But there's been times in my life and your life as well where things just happen, sometimes without any prior notice, prior warning, whatever, and you just have to drop everything, because at the end of the day, when I'm doing these videos, I've got to be in the right mood for them. If I'm happy, then I think I do better videos. There's been times in the past where I've felt obliged to do something, whether it's taking part in a collab video or doing a Friday waffle, whatever, and your heart's just not in it, and you're just like, nah, this isn't going to work. But the people, whilst like my channel is not, it's not an inclusive thing. Is that the right word? It's for everybody. I've got a core of people who've kind of been following my channel for a long time, and I'm eternally grateful for that support. But it has kind of grown quite a bit over the last couple of years, and everyone's welcome. But the people that kind of watch my videos from time to time, or regularly, they understand that YouTube is a hobby. It's not a paying hobby. Well, technically it is. I get about a whopping £8 a month.
Not this one. Not for this one. I've already said fuck once, and if I throw a few cunts in, oops.
bastard.
Yeah.
You've just
I
bloody given me
the,
some editing
the
to do.
mate, is I've not closed my YouTube channel. I've lost about 20 subscribers because I haven't been putting out videos for about a year.
Yeah.
But all the videos are still up. I'm not deleting it, and at some point I might get back to it. There's no saying I won't appear on more of your videos or anything like that. It's just my life has changed considerably, and I'll tell you now, 100%, I have got zero regrets, none whatsoever.
Yeah.
I'm probably the happiest I've ever been in my life, so
Aye.
can't argue with that, can you? And that's no bullshit. I absolutely mean that. Nothing wrong with
Yeah.
being up.
What's that, mate? So I didn't catch that last bit.
I said there's nothing wrong with being all loved up.
Aye, absolutely not, mate. No, I mean I had a kind of similar experience to you probably 5 years earlier, and yeah, I mean, see, the thing I'm not going to sound like Jerry Springer here, but the thing about life is everything generally is temporary, whatever it might be. It can be a temporary thing. I mean, I don't mind admitting that I'm going through a bit of a job-wise, a wee bit rocky, if I'm being honest. Not just me, but just things at the moment. Everything, relationships, jobs, friendships, hobbies, they can be temporary, and I think it's not about, sometimes things stop for any particular reason, and it might be something that makes you extremely sad or depressed, whatever, and that's understandable. But what I would always say to anybody is these things are temporary, and it's just a question of kind of having your eyes open, look behind you a wee bit. There's always going to be other things open up, and I bet 2 years ago you'd never imagined that you're going to be in the situation you are in now, mate. You know what I mean?
Well, no, I mean, yeah, some things are temporary, but things I know that aren't temporary is you and I will always be friends, and my new lady is my forever girl, as far as I'm concerned. So I don't see them as temporary whatsoever.
Yeah. No, that's absolutely epic. That's great. So right now, I mean, you've got no intention of you've got no plans at the moment for your YouTube channel to can you bring it back online at the moment. That might be something
No,
further down the line. Do you reckon?
I've got no computer set up, and I've got no editing software, and I've got no camera. I mean, the only reason you can see me, I know everyone listening, it's a podcast, you can see me, but fuck me, it's a potato on this Chromebook. It's a really good Chromebook, but the camera is shit.
Got to say, yeah, the sound quality is pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's a good Chromebook. I bought it because I bought this one, right, and you'll laugh. A lot of modern things don't have SD card support. They don't have headphone sockets. Well, this one supports an SD card. It's got a headphone socket, and it's also got a full-size USB port on it. Give me a USB controller. That's why I've got RetroArch on here, and I've got Mega Drive, Super Nintendo, Commodore 64, arcade. It's all on here. So, yeah, I bought it for that reason, and it's got a fucking hard rubber outer shell, so if I drop it, it won't break.
That's always handy.
Yeah, so no,
Yeah.
at some point in the future, I don't know, what the future holds. As it is here, there's no space for me to set up my computer stuff, and if it comes down to it, I'd rather be with my girl than have all my computer set up. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. No, like I said, my door's always open anytime you want. I mean, you're one of these people that I'm always getting asked, "Oh, when are you and Panther going to do a video?" Constantly getting asked for it, mate, because you're a good lad.
Yeah. Well, I know your door's always open. Can I have a little conversation with you after this about July?
Not a problem. We'll take that one offline, shall we? But yeah, we'll
Yeah.
catch up with that. Yeah. Right. Anyway, listen, we're going to we're going to get into the meat and bones of this the nice and nasty podcast. You know what this is about, don't you, Chris? You're fully aware of what this thing is.
Oh yeah. I've listened to pretty much all of them. So yeah, I've got a rough idea. I can't remember which way round it is, nice or nasty first, but I have listened to them.
Good stuff. Yeah, but what I'm doing here is I'll call it desert island games. You're going to be getting put out to a desert island. You're all on your own. I'll give you 3 games you can play for the rest of you until you die. It can be, you've got Wi-Fi, it can be multiplayer, whatever. You need to pick 3 games. If these are the only 3 games that you will ever play ever again in your life, what 3 games would they be? So, game number 1, what would it be and why?
Right. Well, my game number 1 would be International Karate Plus on the Commodore 64, because I think it's probably the first of the, well, I would say 1-on-1 fighting game, but it's 1-on-2 or 2-on-1, or I don't know. It's a game that blew me away, and if I got bored with playing it, it's got the music from Rob Hubbard. I think for a Commodore 64 game, I mean, all right, the Amiga version was slightly tidier, but for a 64 game, it's got everything. The sound's brilliant, and for a game that's, I mean, this carries towards the original International Cry and Way Exploding Fist as well. But IK Plus is the one I prefer. For a game, a fighting game with that many moves operating on a single button joystick, as long as you've taken the time to look at the instructions, which none of us ever do, and learn the moves, it is really quite intuitive. And, you know, unlike something I might mention later on, a fighting game on one button is the way they did it was brilliant. And, you know, the late great Archer McLean, you know, that man knew how to write a game graphically. I mean, you look at some of his games, you know, like his, you know, his snooker game, you know, the Whirlwind Jimmy White game, Drop Zone, and the International Karate games. And IK Plus for me is a game I've never got bored of. I could never see myself getting bored of it, because the AI is so good on the computer opponents. No 2 games are the same. I've never started a game up and like, you know, like a lot of shoot 'em ups, which are memory games, the AI never moves the same way every time. At least I haven't found it as. So it keeps it interesting. And if someone else was to wash up on my desert island, it's a 2-player game.
So, I mean, you probably know my thoughts on the 1-on-1 fighting game. I'm firmly in the Way of Exploding Fist camp. Probably a huge part down to nostalgia. But there's no question that, you know, International Karate Plus are technically the better game. I mean, I would imagine if you had 10 people, probably 9 of them would pick International Karate. What was the difference between the Plus and the non-Plus one? Was it the additional player, the 1 against 2, was it?
Yeah, you had the additional player, you had different backgrounds, and you had like the bouncing balls mini game and stuff like that to advance up the belts with the points and that. Yeah, you know, at its core, it's pretty much the same game, but bringing in the 3rd player on the screen makes a difference, because then you've got to watch 3 scores, not just your own. You've got to watch the little circles they're getting as well, because you could land a really good flying kick and get like 3 little circles right at the death. But if the other 2 have got like more than you, one's got 4, one's got 5, you're out, even though you've done this like fucking really good move. So I think that added another dimension to it. And also, you know, you can press a button and make their trousers fall down. What's not to love about it?
bonus point for that. So, I mean, how does it get to a point where you actually finish the game, or does it get harder and harder, or do you get like 10th Dan or something? Or
well, I don't think I've ever got past purple belt on there, and that was fucking hard enough. I'm assuming you just keep going until it becomes so hard you can't play. Maybe someone in the comments on the YouTube version of this will say, I don't know. I'm pretty sure I got to purple, and that was bastard hard as it was. So. But yeah, I think it's a great game, and not only that, it's fast paced. You know, there's a lot of fighting games on the 8 bits, because they're moving so much stuff around. they're pretty slow. The international karate games and the Exploding Fist was pretty much up there speed wise. They're really quick. I mean, I think even the Spectrum version was pretty quick, and that was a lot to draw for something without a graphics chip in it. So I think across the board, international karate was a pretty bloody good game.
Yeah,
But yeah,
something
for
Nichols
me, I
was
love
it
it.
was it like, yeah, could you increase the speed of it again? I can't remember. Did I imagine that?
Uh, I'll tell you what, you might be. I think there was a speed control again. Someone else will have to
Yeah, or
have
was
to
that
let you know either that or I can Google it now. But
was that?
I think the standard speed was fast enough, especially when it starts getting hectic later on.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I always found it a bit too fast, and I did struggle again, probably because I never looked at the bloody instructions. Um, but so was there how many moves did International Karate Plus have?
Well, you got the up if you press fire and up, you got the flying kick. Diagonally up to the right is a kick, like a high kick. I think I think right and fire is a middle kick. Then you've got the low
Yeah,
kick. Then you've got the leg sweep. I think down and left is like the gut punch. I'm pretty sure there's eight different moves on the fire button, and
yeah, yeah,
then there's like a punch you can do if you do up and diagonal and you turn around without pressing the fire button. It has been a little while since I played it, but I
yeah,
think it's something like with movement aside, up, down, left, and right. I think you've got 12 moves because I think you've got the four diagonals without fire button, then the whole lot with fire button.
yeah,
I'd
yeah.
have to look at it to remember, but I know for the way it was done with just having one button was really clever for the time.
Mhm.
Archie McLean when he programmed that, he made the most of only having
Yeah.
one fire
Do you
button.
think do you think he took Way of Exploding Fist as a kind of template? Because I mean, the first thing that struck me when I think I never bought Plus, but I did buy International. I think was it System 3 released it. I think it was, if I remember
Yeah,
rightly. Um,
yeah, it was. Yeah.
and yeah, I bought. I'm sure I bought that in full price. Uh, and it just never clicked. It never clicked, and I just kind of went back to Way of Exploding Fist. I know one of my mates who he got to black belt in karate. He always went with Way of Exploding Fist because you could use keys, and he said that's the only way to play it. And I used to watch him playing it, and he would be going. He would actually be like blocking and throwing a punch and a kick and then block, block, block. And it was actually quite interesting to see him playing it. But yeah, I never really. I did try it initially, and then I just kind of thought, nah, I prefer Way of Exploding Fist. But yeah, I mean, from a technical point of view, it's a stunning game. It's You'd be hard pushed to kind of fault it in any way. I mean, it could have quite easily have been put in an arcade machine. It was that kind of well made, I think.
Well, I mean, you said do I think that Fist inspired international karate?
Yeah,
Maybe a little bit, but I think both of them were inspired by the arcade game Karate Champ, and they took that and they improved on it.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So it's a C64 one. How do you? I mean, how does the 16-bit ones compare?
Well, obviously the music's a little bit more digitized. I mean, I had it on the Amiga. The moves are pretty much the same. I don't think it makes use of the second button that you can use on the Amiga.
Hmm.
Um, it's exactly the same game. It's just a bit smoother on the Amiga. Obviously the sprites are more refined because they're a higher resolution. The music's more digitized, but at its core, it's the same game.
Yeah, there's something about. I mean, obviously, it was written for. It did come out for Atari 8-bit as well, but obviously, it was programmed for the 8 bits. I don't know. Did Archer McLean do the 16 bits? I think he might have actually.
He might have done.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what the lead machine was for it because obviously Archer McLean was a huge Atari 800 fan. I mean, Drop Zone. He says the best version of it is on. To me, apart from slight color difference, they look exactly the fucking same. But I don't know. I don't know if because System 3 were predominantly a Commodore 64 company, weren't they, with stuff like the Last Ninja and that.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
don't
yeah,
know. I don't know if that was the lead one, which is quite strange because normally if you think of Archer McLean, normally he did program on both, but he normally did the Atari first and then did the Commodore 64 afterwards.
yeah, yeah.
But I don't know. That's a Google or some bright spark.
As
Colin Jones will probably tell us in the comments. I ain't joking,
as we
Colin.
know,
You are a font
Arthur
of knowledge.
McLean in issue 1 of Zap, they interviewed some prominent coders and they wanted their feedback. They wanted these guys to tell the readers just how good the Commodore 64 was, and Arthur McLean said, "Yeah, the Commodore 64 is pretty good, but it's not as good as Atari." You're like, bastard. I felt like I'm getting kicked in the bloody balls at that one, but yeah. We'll let him off. I mean, when I was doing it Zap Live last year, I had I was doing with a couple of friends, and I just happened to notice there was a Commodore 64 and an Atari on a table, and I remember looking at them thinking, look at the fucking state of these. Why would they have not have cleaned them? They're bogging. I mean, they're filthy looking. And when I went round the front, there was a little plaque saying that these were the machines that Archer McLean programmed Drop Zone, and it was like, wow. And I had a shot of Drop Zone in both machines, so that was a nice moment. But no, whilst I'm not, if I'm going to play, I'll go for the Way of Exploding Fist. But International Karate Plus is, if you were to kind of, I don't know, if you were to make a list of probably like 10 of the most kind of perfect games on the Commodore 64, I think I've got quite a good feeling that would probably appear in most people's list because you can't really fault it.
No, it's a Stonewall classic, isn't it? There's nothing, unless you absolutely detest fighting games. There's nothing bad to be said about it. It's like coding perfection. I can't think of a single, unless it's like a pirate disc copy that's been cracked and messed about with. I can't think of a single glitch or anything going wrong with it. Archer McLean knew what he was doing, and his stuff was tested properly, unlike games these days.
It's interesting when you think in fact it's weird, on if you're on YouTube, it always comes up recommended videos. It was recommending 2 of my videos. Well, I think that's because I was logged into my channel. And interestingly, the 2 videos that were getting recommended today, this afternoon, was remembering Archer McLean and remembering what do you call it, Ben Douglas. It was interesting. That was 2 videos that I put out, and both of them appeared as my recommended, which is interesting. But Archer McLean, actually, he didn't. When you think about his output on the, well, if you were to say to people, rhyme off 5 of the most prominent coders on the C64, Archer McLean's going to be mentioned. And yet when you actually think about what he did, he only really wrote about 2 or 3 games for the 8-bit, but they were like 99% out of 100. They were just phenomenal.
Oh yeah, they were so good. He didn't need to do it. I mean, look how much money they made on Jimmy White's Win Snooker, advertising with Ferraris and stuff like that. He's sadly missed. Archer. He's someone that I never got to meet, but I would have liked to have said to him, how long did you spend playing Defender before you wrote Drop Zone? Because that's the thing. A lot of 8-bit games of that time, the mid 80s were taken from arcade games. I mean, Drop Zone is basically a riff on Defender. International Karate is Karate Champ. These games are. But I like the way coders like Archer McLean took an idea and made the game their own, rather than was it I was watching? I think I was watching a Cinevision the other day, and he did a thing on the game Gilligan's Gold, which is basically the arcade game Bagman, But what they
Yeah.
did was right down to the level design on all three of the the lead 8-bits, Amstrad, Speccy, and C64. They literally copied the maps, copied the sprites, copied everything, and gave it a different name. And
Yeah.
that's Ocean. And obviously, then Ocean started getting licenses and doing arcade conversions and film tines and that later on. But to start off with, they were just another bunch of bloody rip-off merchants. So yeah, a lot of the games from the mid '80s were remade arcade games. But in the case of Archer McLean,
Yeah.
put his own spin on them and made the games
Aye.
his own rather than being direct copies. That's the point I was trying to
Yeah.
make in a roundabout way.
He kind of buffed it up and he enhanced it for the kind of hardware. Just before we kind of move on to game number 2, so what other games did he write for the C64? Drop Zone, International Karate 2. Did he write any other games for the C64?
I'll tell you what, I'll Google it.
Aye, I mean, 16-bit, he did Jimmy White's snooker, he did Jimmy White's pool, he did... Christ almighty, I mean, he wrote so few games, but because they're so good, he'll always be regarded as an absolute legend. I think Jeff Minter, I mean, he's probably written about 100 games. Archer McLean, what he put out was...
See, it weren't many. I'll give you the list of Archer McLean games, all right?
Yeah.
1984, Drop Zone. 1986, International Karate. 87, International Karate Plus. 91, Jimmy White's Whirlwind Snooker. 92, Archer McLean's Pool. 98, Jimmy White's 2, Cue Ball. 2001, Jimmy White's Cue Ball World. 2004, Archer McLean Presents Pool Paradise. 2005, Archer McLean's Mercury. 2009, Wheelspin. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 games between 84 and 2009. So, 25 years, 10 games.
Yeah, and he was driving a Ferrari, so that tells you what you need to know about how much money he must have made on them, which is deserved given how good they are. But that's mental. So he only actually did 2 8-bit games, and he'll
That's mad,
forever
isn't it?
be known as an 8-bit legend. That's mental. That's really surprising. Obviously, he did quite a few pool games. I think they were on the Dreamcast, and I think was it Mercury that was on the PSP, I think it was. Yeah, it was.
I'm not sure, mate. I haven't played it.
Yeah, a kind of maze type game. But yeah, there you go. That just says it all. He's looked upon as an absolute Stonewall legend in programming circles, and yet he only did 2 games on the 8-bit. There you go. So anyway, an absolute Stonewall classic for choice number 1. Choice number 2.
Well, we're going to zip forward a few years to the PlayStation 2 and a game called Metal Gear Solid 3.
Metal Gear Solid 3.
3, yep, the third installment.
Okay, you're going to take a bit. This is going to take a bit of persuading me because I'm not a fan of it. But I'll listen.
That's all right. You're allowed to be wrong.
There are 2 people who like. There's 2 people in this world. Those who don't like it, and then there's those who are wrong.
Right, I like Metal Gear Solid, the original one. Number 2 was okay. The first one on the PlayStation 1 was the first time I'd ever played a game that was like an interactive movie. Now this is before every game was an interactive movie.
Yeah.
And what I liked it on a lot of the PlayStation games, you'd be playing the game with like the old 32-bit jaggedy polygon graphics, and then it'd go to a cutscene and it'd look like fucking Toy Story, and it'd go back to the game and it'd be back to it again. I mean, I think Final Fantasy VII was so guilty of that.
Yeah.
With Metal Gear Solid, what the lead programmer Hideo Kojima did, he used the game engine for the cutscene, so it's not as jarring. All right, there is a lot of watching, and it is an interactive movie there's a lot of gameplay as well. So the first one was really good, and I got a PlayStation, and I kind of bought into it, and I really, really enjoyed it. I like the stealth aspect of, rather than normal shoot 'em up games where it's like kill, 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 kill. You could sneak around and you could hide and you could avoid stuff, and it made You could still kill stuff, but it made it more interesting. You know, it had like a spy element to it. Roll on to the PlayStation 2, and the first one that came out on that was Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty, I think that was called. And it was a good game, but after the first couple of hours, you switch to a different character, so you're not playing the character that you grew to know in the first game. And that put a lot of people off, but the gameplay was still good. So they did that one, and then Metal Gear Solid 3 come out. Now, the first two were set in like the near future, like, you know, with genetically engineered soldiers and special weapons and all this sort of stuff, and radar that you could use. The third one was set in the late 60s, so the technology was less, and it was all in forest. And for a PlayStation 2 game, it looks absolutely stunning. In fact, I've got the HD collection for the PlayStation 3, which is just upscaled slightly, and you'd be forgiven for not thinking it was a PlayStation 3 game. So graphically, it's really good. What I like about it is I like the story dealing with nuclear weapons and Russian spies and everything. A good Bond, even the theme music's like a Bond theme. But what I like about it is, rather than like say something like Call of Duty, where I've been shot a few times, I'll hide behind a rock and heal up. In MGS3, you've got to find the stuff, and then you go into a sub menu and you've got to use a knife to dig the bullet out. You've got to use the ointment to put on the wound. You've got to put a bandage over, then it'll get rid of a wound level. You've got to find food. You know, you're a lone warrior running through jungles and stuff like that, and you've got to find food. Otherwise, you run out of food, your energy starts going down, you're going to die. There's a lot of supernatural elements to it, but the bit that sold me the most on the entire game, there's a boss battle. There's a boss called The End, and it's literally Battle of the Snipers. And you've got to look, as you're like hunting around through the trees, you can look at distance. You've got to catch sight of the glint of the scope on the other gun to know where he is. And it can take 10 minutes or it can take 2 hours to do this boss battle. Because in that, the AI is pretty good as well. I mean, I normally cheat and surround myself in claymores and just blow them up. Spoilers there for anyone that hasn't played it. But yeah, if you do it properly, it was just so well done. And the story's really good as well. There's a lot of, like I say, it's like a nuclear war story. And it's Russian. You've got supernatural soldiers. And I don't know, it's hard to... It's hard to put into words. It's a feeling I got when I was playing it. It really, really drew me in with the story and the stuff. And not only that, in games like that as well, when it does go to cutscene, you can use like the joysticks and the trigger buttons to move the camera around. So if you want to look at something else that's happening, and occasionally there'll be something happening in the background that unless you do that, you might not notice. I mean, all right, in one of it, it's looking down at some bird's tits, but it's just a really fucking good game. It's got a good story to it, and yeah, I like the sneaking about. And if you play it on one of the easier modes, you basically get a tranquilizer gun, and the guards don't stay out forever, but you can just knock the guards out. For example, there's a bit where there's 3 guards on a bridge, and you need to get across this bridge, and they're really hard to hit with a tranquilizer gun. So the easiest way to do it, there's a wasp's nest up in the tree. You shoot the wasp's nest down, smash on the floor, and they'll get stung and run away. It's just simple stuff like that. And it's one of the first games that had quite a decent draw distance, so you can see where you're going and plan a route before you get there. And there's lots of clever plot twists and that going on as well that I'm not going to spoil it, because it's a story worth following. But it's like playing a movie. All right, a 20-hour movie, but I'd still put it above a lot of modern games. Because
so do you think?
And there's a lot of replay value as well. You know, you complete it once. There's also these little green frogs that are dotted around. If you can find them, I think there's about 100 of them. But if you can find them, or some are in fucking real awkward places, and shoot them all, make them all croak, you get another bonus at the end. And then if you want, once you've done the game and you've unlocked everything, it opens up all of the cutscenes, and you can kind of watch it like a movie. I mean, all right, people have put that on YouTube and that, but don't know. I just it's a game that I really enjoyed, and with that one as well, they went back to David Hayter playing Snake in it. All right, he's playing like an earlier Snake, but it was the right voice, and everything just worked. It was just a really really good game. It is a really good game. It's that good. I've bought the original. I've bought one of the I can never remember if it's Substance or Subsistence because they did that for 2 as well. Bought a different version out. And I think I bought the PC version. I've got the HD remaster. I think I own that game about 4 or 5 times. And you know me, I don't like buying games at the best of time, let alone the same one 4 or 5 times. But yeah, I just absolutely love it. It's just something about that game. And I think it's the fact that, you've got all that stuff going on with the wounds and the food, but also you pick up different camouflages as you go along. So you've got different types of woodland, or if you're going out into sort of like more built up areas, you've got urban camo, and it helps you not being seen by all the guards and that. It adds to your invisibility if you're sneaking around.
Mm-hmm.
If you made it through a game like
yeah.
The Last of Us, you'd be able to play that game.
Yeah, I know. I mean, again, for me personally, I remember, at that point it was the PlayStation, and I had it chipped. So we would go to the market on a Sunday. We'd come away with about 5 games. My mate would buy 5 games. I would buy 5 games. We would copy them all, and then you'd never play any of them. And that, sadly, Metal Gear Solid was one of them. I remember my mate. He was like really hyped for this game. Oh, could they wait to get it? And it came on. I can't remember how many discs, and I played it for a very short space of time. I mean, it was revolutionary. I mean, I remember like you see like the breath, the cold air, and that kind of stuff. That was something you'd never seen in a video game before. And obviously cutscenes. I think at that point, cutscenes were a bit of a novelty. And as you say, I mean, it was you're talking about some of the early 16-bit games, 32-bit games. They were guilty of. They had obviously shit kind of visuals, and then it had Toy Story, intermissions. I mean, classic example would be the Resident Evil. I mean, it was when you look at that game now, it just looks absolute bollocks. Even the cutscenes look a bit bollocks as well. But yeah, I mean, it was my mate. He loved it, and I just got bored because I didn't get bored. I get overawed pretty quick with games. Like, oh, it's too much to learn, sort of thing. So, did you get any like the first 2, or was it particularly the one in the PlayStation 2? With the better visuals, was that what kind of made it for you, or did you just? Was it the whole thing, the visuals and the sort of immersiveness? That's a word.
Yeah, that'll do as a word.
That's a word. Yeah.
No, I think they're all much of a muchness. I mean, obviously on the PlayStation 2, it was it was a higher resolution. It was a more powerful machine. But I think it's a mixture. A lot of it is to do with the story as well. Because there's a lot of links in it to the earlier games that are set more nowadays. Like, for example, in Metal Gear Solid 1, there's a boss fight you have to do with a guy called Revolver Ocelot. Now, he turns up in this one as a young man in the 60s, so you can't actually kill him. You can have some run-ins with him, but you can't actually kill him. If you actually kill him, it invokes a paradox, and it basically chucks you out, and you have to do it again. So it's very clever the way it's all been linked together. So although you've got plenty of freedom, there's a couple of certain things that can't happen because obviously it'll fuck up the future timeline. And I like the way they did that, and the way it was stuck to. Because I bought, the main reason I got a PlayStation 3 was so I could get Metal Gear Solid 4 when it came out, and that was again a pretty good game. I didn't like it as much as I like 3, but it was still good. And then after that, I don't really talk about it because they changed the actor that played Snake from David Hayter to Kiefer Sutherland, which is fine. Kiefer Sutherland's a fine actor. Yeah. But David Hayter found out when Kiefer Sutherland was announced on Twitter, which is a bad way to find out you've lost your job to someone else. And I thought, you bunch of cunts, I'm not buying that game. I never played it, but that one is more about base building and collecting men and collecting armies. So I'm not really interested in it. I quite like Well, you know how much I like Rambo on the Commodore 64, one man against everything. That's the way I like,
Yeah,
them sort of
yeah.
games. So,
So I presume you've completed the game multiple
yeah,
times.
yeah, two
Yeah,
or three times.
and is it one of these games that you'll gladly play through again because you
Yeah,
enjoy it so much? Yeah,
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, I've played the sniper battle with the end more times than I've played anything else because that's just great fun. But yeah, it's one of them games that when you've completed it, the whole game's unlocked. So you can restart it at any point if you want to do like a certain part of it that you really enjoyed. You can go back and do it. But yeah, I've done it a few times. It's like you know, when we did our film videos. I mean, how many times have you watched Plane, Trains, and Automobiles? You know, it's like that. You'll leave it.
Yep,
You'll
yep,
leave it a
yep,
couple of
yep,
years,
yep.
but you'll go back and you'll watch it again. It's like that. You know, I haven't played it for a couple of years, but I'm sure I'll play it again because I really enjoy the story and I really enjoy the characters. The voice acting's good. So it's an interactive movie. I
Yeah,
know that it comes
yeah.
under the umbrella of video game, but those sort of games really are an interactive movie. Although round about the sort of like the early 2000s and the late 90s, it was more play and a little bit of movie, whereas these days it's play for 5 minutes, then it's half hour of movie in a lot of these games. So it was before it got out of hand, so it's not too bad.
So I mean, why would you choose that game? Bear in mind that's one of the three games you can play. Would you be quite happy playing it on a regular basis?
Yeah, because I could level pick because once you've completed it once and everything's opened up, then you can level pick. And there's a couple of different mini games in it. I think you've got a thing where you got to hunt some little apes, which is like a silly little like bonus game in there. You can hunt the frogs. You got to collect all the different camouflages. There's loads of different animals to where you can stun them and they end up going in sort of like a little box and then you can eat them. And if you eat a rat, it's not very good, or if you eat a snake, it can be good for you. There's just so much to it. I'd
Yeah,
quite
yeah.
happily play it again. It's probably the PlayStation 2 game I've played the most, and I've still got a PlayStation 2 now. I've had one
Mhm.
pretty much since they were a thing.
Yeah. Actually, when you're talking there, there's the guy that I work with. I'm sure he says one of his favourite games is Metal Gear Solid 3 on the PlayStation 2. Yeah. So you're obviously not alone. So anyway, yeah, interesting. A completely different game from your first choice. So you've kind of you've ticked the kind of the story mode, nostalgia, the enjoyment of playing the game, and then you've obviously got the arcade kind of twitchy gaming with International Karate Plus. So what would be your third and last game?
Well, this probably ain't going to come as much of a surprise, and I know it's appeared in one of them before, but it's got to be Elite Dangerous for me. I haven't played it for quite a few months now. I left my carrier nicely stocked up with money because I knew I weren't going to be playing it for a while. Um, I've last year while I was living on my own for quite a while, I sunk a lot of time in that, playing with obviously with Luke Ozer. I spent a lot of time playing with him. I spent a bit of time playing on there with my mate Lee, and then Steve, who you know as well, popped in occasionally and had a little go. So I
Hmm.
sunk a lot of time in that while I was, on my own. Um, and there's just so much to fucking do in it. You've got you've got the original game of Elite if you want. Go to a station, buy some stuff, go to another station, sell it for more money. You've got that. Then you've got building and designing ships and engineering them. And then add to that, you've got collecting the materials to do it. And I'm not big on crafting in games, but I like the way
Hmm.
they do it in that, like collecting raw materials. Then you've got mining on top of that. And then you've got exploration on top of that as well. And then you've got the codex where I wasn't as much into it as Luke Ozer. He quite liked to completely fill the book in, as it were, like the proverbial football sticker annual, complete the lot. But you go and see different things in the game, and a lot of them are really fucking breathtaking. Um, and the codex would fill up with different entries of things you've seen and that. And then they brought out the Odyssey thing, and then you could get out your spaceship on foot. And before they even did that, you could drive around in an SRV, so you could land on planets and drive. Um, and then you've got the whole first person. You can make it a first person shooter game. You can do like basically it's effectively team deathmatch, or you can sneak around a bit like Metal Gear Solid. And one of the last things I did when I was playing it with Lukoza was during like the Fargoid War. You could sneak around. I only did this the once. You could sneak around the base in the dark, and you had the aliens flying around, and it was like Metal Gear Solid. You had to sneak around and not be seen, otherwise you got the shit shot out of you, and you had to restore power to the bases and stuff like that. Yeah, it's there's so much in it, and the thing with that, because it's a complete sandbox and it's a one-to-one of the entire Milky Way galaxy. There's like 400 billion stars you can visit, and I know at one point, a couple of years back, Frontier Developments said that the player base had so far found something like 0.02% of things to find. It's fucking huge. So yeah, Lukoza helped me financially get a carrier, and then I started, earning money to keep it going, like especially during the Fargoid War, like blasting the shit out of all these stuff, like generally dogfighting over planets and that, which was great. So I left that stocked up with money, and I think it was good for about 3 years. So as long as I get on in time to do that, if the servers are still going, I will get back on it. I just haven't had a computer set up to play it on, really.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a game again. I've got the patience of a gnat, the attention span of a gnat, I should say. But there's it's a game I would see yourself and the Cozer playing, and you know, and I used to just like watch it, and I mean, I've seen a lot of video games in my time, but it's got to be one of the most beautiful looking games. When you consider how vast the game is, you would expect it to be a bit shit kind of graphically, but it's absolutely stunning. And I mean, it's a game that's obviously, if you were to kind of, if you were to go back to, I don't know, asteroids back in whenever it was 1979, and you say, oh, can you imagine having a game where you can actually fly the ship, and you can shoot things, and you can collect things, and then you can get out, you can go to a spaceship and walk away. It's almost like the perfect game. I know it doesn't appeal to everybody, but it's it's almost like a way of life for some people. I mean, you're it's like listening to bloody Obi-Wan Kenobi during the Thargoid Wars. You know what I mean? You're talking about things like it was real life. The Thargoid Wars. That's a thing I've not heard for a long time. But yeah, I mean, it's a game, and I said that to Lukoza. It's a game that I would love to be able to play. Will I ever get into it? Probably not, because I've just got quite literally far too much stuff going on in my life. I've got a guitar sitting there, which I want to start playing again. I've got so many things going on. The chance of me playing Elite is probably next to zero. But I totally get why you've picked that game, because it's. I mean, does it ever get boring, or is it just one of these games that can throw a kind of a curveball at you at any point? Or
Well, yeah, I mean, even if you're just hauling cargo about, you can get interdicted and pulled out of hyperspace, or pulled out of light speed, and then you got pirates to deal with. And because I've got some beefy ships, I mean, I'm not going to take credit away from the man. If it hadn't been for Lukoza, I wouldn't have known me arse from me elbow over a lot of it. And a lot of the ships that I designed in there were because of the things he showed me in the game when I first started playing it, around the time we was doing the first Sid show. 9 times out of 10, I get pulled out of hyperspace. The enemy don't stand a chance, because my ships are engineered to the max, and are fully weaponed up for everything. But yeah, you've got that going on, so you never know when that's going to happen. And with a lot of the new stuff, there's like points of interest on planets, and there's a new game out, or fairly new. It came out last year, called Starfield, which is a Bethesda game, which is like Fallout or the Elder Scrolls in space, basically. And the
Yeah.
reason that game doesn't appeal to me is because when you come in to land on a planet, you head towards the planet, then you've got a cutscene of the ship coming in and landing. Whereas in Elite Dangerous, you have to pick your speed, you have to pick your angle to land, then you go into glide. Unless you've got a docking computer with an auto lander on it, you have to manually land that ship yourself. And that's what appeals to me in that game. It's I'm not going to say simulation, because obviously a simulation is something that's real, and obviously these spaceships aren't real, but it's kind of almost a simulator. It's almost a flight simulator, just using imaginary spaceships, basically. And I just love the game. I think it's great. I think it's well put together. It's had its issues, like when Odyssey come out, it was an absolute bucket of shit. I mean, I had to get a different graphics card, a Flucosa, just so I could fucking play the game at any kind of resolution and speed. Because whereas before Odyssey come out, my little 1060 could run it full 1080 on like ultra settings. When that come out, I had to after settings and turn it down to like 720 to be able to play it, because they put so much in it and they updated the graphics engine and that. But you say it being a beautiful game, if you've got like a 2070 or or 80 or a 30 or even a 40 series graphics card, and you play it in 4K, it's something else to look at. If you've got a decent 4K screen, it really is. In parts, not so much to people, because they're computer generated game people,
Yeah,
with,
yeah.
you look at the planets and the ships outside, it's almost fucking Star Trek quality, and Star Wars quality. It is that well done.
Did you not? There's something. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you not do a video a while back looking at it? Was like set in space, and you were using the Elite engine or something. What was it you did? You did a video.
I did one where I flew across the solar system,
That's what it was. And
starting at Pluto
yeah,
and to Earth, to some Iron Maiden. Just an excuse to make an Iron Maiden video. Now that,
yeah.
right, that, because I know in the comments Colin put,
Nice.
that was lucky the planets were in alignment. They fucking weren't in alignment. Luckily, Lou Cozy was talking to me. It took me about 2 hours to fucking film that, flying backwards and forwards, because of course, I was fortunate enough that Great Britain was actually in daytime, so I could get the shot I wanted at the end. But the rest of the planets, fucking Pluto was on one side of the sun, and then of course, when I wanted to come fucking into sort of like Neptune and Uranus, they're on the other side of the fucking sun. I was going backwards and forwards. It took fucking ages, and I think it's an 11-minute video with 2 Maiden songs. It was only going to be one song, but I couldn't fucking get it short enough, so I had to make it 2. But yeah, that was before the Odyssey
Yeah,
engine came out. That was like the
yeah,
older version. It still looks fucking beautiful.
yeah. No, as I said, I mean, it's so. How many? How many does each planet have? Just a single like station?
No, I mean, the Earth type planets. Last time I played it, you couldn't land on them because there's a lot of well, it's a bone of contention because No Man's Sky can do it, and Star Citizen, which is still in beta, um,
And
couldn't do it.
forever being beat up. Yeah.
But some planets and moons and that have got up to like fucking 10 different bases or mines or
Mm.
like resort sort of things. There's lots of different stuff, loads of different layouts. You'll have like a horticultural place, you'll have a medical place, there'll be a military type base. Yeah, like I say, like a holiday type place. There's loads of different stuff, and some of the ones that were good to go to and raid and nick stuff from were like some of the military bases were good for getting your ratings up. Because I mean, I managed to get treble elite in it before I started, so I've got elite in combat, trading, and exploration, which is pretty good. I just about managed to get elite in the original elite back in the day, so it was nice to get that. Yeah, no, there is some of the planets have got more than one base on them. Some have just got the one base, some have got none. but there's still like things to see because there's different plants, and that's the other thing when Odyssey come out. It's not just first person shooting. You've also got a thing called an Artemis suit, which has got like a scanner, and you go down and you scan a plant, and then you have to be a certain distance away to scan the next bit, and you have to scan it 3 times, and then you go back to a station to the oh, fuck me, I can't remember what it's called now, but the place where you can hand that data in, and you get paid for it. It's a good way of earning money in the game. I earn loads of money just scanning plants and that. But if you're playing online at one point, you have me, Lucosa, my mate Lee, and the other guy, our other mate Jim. Four of us all playing at once, and you're all doing the same thing, all scanning these plants, all looking for it. But it's also the banter going on, behind you. Like I'm sure Jim won't mind me saying, but Jim chooses like the worst fucking ship to land on planets that are really bumpy. So we're just standing there looking up, and it's really impressive. Actually, it's like you're watching an actual spaceship come down.
Yeah.
But he can never find anywhere to land it. Come on, you fucking wanker, we're waiting for you and stuff like that. He's, I can't fucking help it. So you have all that inter-game banter as well. So yeah, it's there is that aspect to it as well. I mean, obviously, there was a few times where I was playing it on my own, and that's when I tended to go mining. And all I did was on another screen just open up my music player, and that's like my car stereo in my spaceship, and just turn it down so I can still hear the game and have the music going in the background while I'm just doing what I want to do by myself.
No, as I say, it's a game I'd love to get into, but I can totally understand why you would want to. It's like infinite, and I suppose if you are quite literally stuck in a desert island, it's you can escape. You know what I mean? That's kind of what it's all about. So anyway, that's the 3 games: International Karate Plus, Elite Dangerous, and what was the second one again?
Go on, you can do it.
Oh, Metal Gear Solid 3 on the PlayStation 2. There we go. But anyway, you're not getting off that easy. Now we're going to lower the tone a wee bit. I need you to pick 3 games which are so fucking awful, you simply hate, or you may like, but you actually, in retrospect, you think, I wish this game had never been made for whatever reason. And these 3 games, you can just banish them forever. They should never have existed. So, Game of Shame number 3.
Right, before I get into that, I will say there's one game on this list I have played for about half an hour, and I couldn't stand it that much. It's made it to my list. Right, number 3. So you want the least worst first, yeah?
Well, you don't put them in any order. You can pick whatever. I'm not. You can pick whatever order you want.
Right. Well then, okay. Well, I'll start. I'll do it with my. I've got it in sort of like worst 1 to 3. I'll do it backwards. Now this game I can't stand it because not only was it a disappointment, it wasn't as good as International Karate Plus. Just playing the game and choosing characters and choosing a battle meant swapping a disc about 6 fucking times. It came on about 20 million discs. It's the Amiga original release of Street Fighter 2. What a pile of shite. Absolute fucking dog shit. If it's a bit like an Amstrad game. Sorry, Amstrad owners. You look at the screenshot, looks lovely. As soon as it starts moving, what the fuck? Why are these characters in treacle? Unlike International Karate Plus, using one fire button for the game was not intuitive in the slightest. It was just shit. I'm pretty sure you had to press space to change between kicking and punching, which I suppose is something, but it was still shit. It was just absolutely awful. And if this was Room 101, I'd be consigning it to there forever.
the thing about Street Fighter 2, I mean, it came out in arcades. It had 6 fire buttons, I think. A joystick and 6 fire buttons. They'd done an absolute cracking port across to the Super Nintendo. and then they obviously attempted to port it into a one joystick, one button machine, and it doesn't take Albert Einstein to work out that it's not going to work. It's
Well,
not
you
going to
say
work.
that, but Archie
Uh,
McLean done it with IK Plus.
yeah,
One fire
but
button, 12 different moves.
he built that game around the confines of a single fire button, whereas Street Fighter 2 was built around 6 fire buttons.
Yeah,
So
it
you could
was,
never, yeah, yeah.
but they could have done better than what they did with it.
So you're saying, I mean, I did, unfortunately, I did. It was a pirate copy, right enough. Um, you had I can't even remember exactly how it worked. So you had to did pressing spacebar then change the kicks and punches or something? How did it work?
I'm sure it was something like that because you're trying to. If you think about it, you're trying to do like if you're using Ken or you've got you've got a forward quarter circle and a punch to do a fireball. You've got sort of like right down, right diagonal to do a dragon punch, and then you've got a sort of like down to left a quarter circle to do a hurricane
Mm.
kick. And I'm sure you had to use a space. I could be wrong, Al. It's been so long since I've played it because it's one of them games that you got to. If I was fortunate to get a copy of it and not an original as well, and it was like you play it for a couple of hours in the afternoon, like with a mate, and then it gets consigned to the back of the disc box, and it fucking well stays there, and it deserves to stay there.
Yeah, I mean, my memories of the game is I was fully aware of the. I mean, any shop you went into, it had the SNES running Street Fighter 2, and you couldn't but help be impressed. And then when I got wind that it was coming out in the Amiga, I saw screenshots and it looked just as good as the Amiga, just as good as the SNES. I thought this is going to be great. And then it came out, as you said, it came out in 4 discs. And whilst if you paused it, it looked all right. But the minute it started moving, there was less frames of animation. It was slower. And as you say, if you beat the first character, well, even from the start, I mean, the intro looked all right, poof, and then it kind of you see the kind of the sort of the tower thing. It scrolls up, and then you think, oh, this is going to be great, and even the music sounds really good, and then the game starts, and then you've got to put in disc 4, then disc 3, then fucking disc 2, and then it starts, and then you beat them, then you've got to put it in. And if you want to kill the whole experience of playing a video game, it's just have multiple disc swaps. You could have lived probably if it had been one disc swap, but I'm quite sure, I don't think we're exaggerating. I think quite literally you did have to swap it 2 or 3 times per level. Um, yeah.
I'll tell you what, if I remember correctly, I think it was on 6 discs. So if you'd learn which characters were on each disc, you could get away with one disc swap, and you could like
Yeah.
pick both the characters that are on disc 2, for example. That was one way of cutting it down, but you'd end up playing characters you didn't want to. But it was really sluggish. The characters were like they were walking through treacle, and it was just an absolute disappointment of I know Street Fighter 2 is not everyone's cup of tea. It's a lot better than the original Street Fighter, which was pretty slow in the arcade. But the second one was, well, look what it's fucking spawned. They're still making the games now.
Mm,
It's pretty much the granddaddy of modern fighting games. But again, that still harks back to International Karate Plus and
yeah.
Karate Champ. It's still effectively the same game, just with a different coat of paint on. But
Yeah.
yeah, no, the Amiga one was such a disappointment. If I ever see it again, it'll be 2 billion years too soon.
I think that should be your first video you make when you return to YouTube.
Well, I
Um,
think
no, I mean, I remember getting it and I was really excited about it. I thought, oh, fucking, I've got, excuse me, I've got Street Fighter 2 on the Amiga, and it looks great. And I was so wanting it to be as good. And I was trying to convince myself, I thought, right, okay, I can see past the disc swap, whatever. It is just as good. And then you thought, oh, it's just a bit slow. And I remember actually, I'm sure I got a copy. How did it work again? Did I get a? I think the copy. I think I got another copy of it, and it actually had the option to run it in NTSC, which gave you a wee bit. I don't know, 15% quicker. And I thought, oh, it's better. It's just as good as the SNES. And then I went up to local shops and I thought, no, it's absolutely shit. It's dog shit.
I'll tell you what.
And yeah,
I think I had that version as well with the NTSC, and I had a hard
yeah.
drive installer for it, and it was still shit because it was always loading stuff.
And you know what? I remember getting the. I'm just fucking inadvertently turned the TV on there with my foot. When I got the Amiga 1200, I thought, oh, it's going to play better, and it did play a wee bit better, but it was still it was really, really watered down. I hate the old cliche, but if you bought Street Fighter 2 from Wish, that was pretty much what you got. It looked like it, but it played nothing like it, and it was just a crushing disappointment. Like a lot of the conversions, back at that point with your outruns and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, that's another story. So yeah, totally well deserved game of shame. Game of shame number 2.
Right, this is the one I've only played about half hour of it. I thought it was boring. I thought it's a 3D game. I thought it lacked any shading. I didn't even really like the music that much, and people absolutely rave about this game, and I cannot see the appeal, and I can't stand it. And that's Mario 64 on the Nintendo 64.
Interesting.
I just don't like it.
Embellish, expand as to what you hated about it. Well, anything particular?
It just looks bland and boring. It's a 3D polygon game, but it just seems like a colourless, dull. I just found it incredibly dull. That's the best way I can put it. But it's because people rave about it so much. Mario 64 is this now. Oh, it's coming out on the Switch. I want to be able to play Mario 64. I'm like, why the fuck would you want to play that? Play one of the newer Mario games. It's much better. I just can't see the appeal of it. And I tried to play it because I got a few 3 or 4 years ago. I went halves with my youngest. My boss at the time was moving. He was selling off loads of old video stuff, and he had an N64 with about 40 or 50 games of it. And because my boy was going halves with me on it, he only wanted like 80 quid or 100 quid for the lot. And that was one of the games that was in it. And I tried to play it again years later, and I just basically gave the controller to my son. I went, you can do that. This is shit. I just don't like it. Now, the original Mario Brothers games, I think, are really good. The Mario World games that come out on the Wii and the Wii U, and some of the other games that come out on the Switch, I think are fantastic platformers. But there's just something about it. I think that came out at the time where there was a glut of these 3D platform games. You had like Spyro the Dragon, you had that, and you had like Croc. You had all these different sort of quite cute games, but they were all pretty much the same game. But they all had something about them. But this Mario on the N64 just seems so flat and lifeless for a 3D game. There didn't seem to be much in the way of shading. Like the grass was just green, the sky was just blue, the rocks were just brown or orange. I just found it totally unappealing. And I reckon the first time I played it, I did about half hour, and I was like, why is everyone raving about this? It's fucking bollocks. Maybe it's just me. But I don't dislike. Yeah. I don't dislike Mario the character. I know he's as popular as fucking Coca-Cola and Michael Jackson, but that game is just. I just thought it was overhyped and people rave about it too much, and I just thought it was shit.
Yeah, I
There's
mean
not much more
it's
to explain on it. No, I don't like it. I don't think I want it consigned. I want it
no, I
consigned to the.
mean, yeah, I mean, I think it was kind of looked upon as I mean, there's certain games that have come along over the years, certain landmark games, and I think rightly or wrongly, I mean, I'm going to say rightly, Mario 64 kind of it kind of took the sort of 2D games and it turned it into a fully immersive 3D world. The problem with Nintendo is you either like their worlds or you fucking hate them. I mean, I don't know whether it was a, a deliberate choice to keep the colors like plain colors because it's a video game. They don't want it to look real. They want it to look like a 2D Mario. I don't know. But I mean, it was certainly it was the first truly kind of immersive kind of game that I played. And then I think like Crocs and all these other Spyros, they kind of followed on, and probably done it. I think was it Banjo Kazooie and all that? They probably did it even better. But I, I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it. I mean, I got again typical me. I gave up. I got maybe about a third of the way in and kind of gave up. I think it has been picked as one of the best games on the podcast. I can't remember who picked it. But what is interesting is there's been a few people, their best ever game would probably appear in my worst games, and obviously that's one for you. But yeah, it's interesting you've chose it. Was it the gameplay you didn't like, or was it just you just felt it was like lifeless? I mean, it is kind of. I think because it was like the sort of first generation sandbox type game, there is a lot of emptiness in it. It's basic, and
I think. I
I
think that's.
tend, yeah.
So I think that's what you. That's it. It's the amount of emptiness. And you say about immersive.
Mm.
I found it about as immersive as an empty swimming pool. It just didn't do anything for me at all.
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't know what to say. I did enjoy the game. I thought it was, yeah. I mean, do you think? I don't know. No, there's no point there. I mean, you played it for 10 minutes, and obviously you just thought, no, this isn't for me. And have you've had no interest in returning to any point? You think, nah, no for me.
Well, I tried it. I tried it when my boy got the Well, me and my boy got the N64, and then I have tried it a couple of times because I remember there was a thing about how hard N64 emulation was, so I tried a few different emulators to see, and that's one I put on because I thought, well, maybe if I can upscale it a bit and smooth out the edges, and maybe it'll look a bit less empty and pull me in a bit more. But no, not really. It's just, I think it's just the game. It's just one of them games. I'm just never going to gel with it. And I have tried. It weren't 10 minutes. It was a good half hour. I got a little way into it, but I just found it. I just found it dull. I think there was a lot of the early N64 games that did that for me. But there's a Zelda game that people rave about on the N64, and that bored me shitless as well. But it was better than fucking Mario 64.
Right, well, I'm with you. I'm with you in that one. So upscaling it was just it was a higher res dullness. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I thought I'd have a go, but that didn't really help.
Yeah, I do think. I mean, it's interesting that you've said that you've enjoyed like more kind of recent Mario games. I mean, was it Mario Galaxy and the Wii? I think it was. That was quite an impressive looking game. But obviously
Yeah, that was.
they had better, yeah, they had better technology. They could kind of make more realistic looking kind of worlds. But no, interesting. It's obviously entirely up to you, mate. That's a game that you're not a fan of. But I do think that yeah, there's people tend to either love Nintendo or fucking despise them. Um, but then you do like you have liked subsequent kind of Mario games, so it was just that particular.
Yeah, it's just that particular game, and I think also, I think maybe it's because the amount people rave about it, but that sort of 3D sort of open world game, I've never been a fan of them in particular anyway. So I think a lot of my derision of it is because it's so overhyped. Or people go on about, oh, this is the best of the first wave of 3D platform games. It's like, no, it's not. It's shit. In my opinion, obviously.
Yeah. No, listen, absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine, mate. So, game of shame number 2, Mario 64. Or is it Super Mario 64? I think they call it.
I just know it as Mario 64
Yeah,
or
yeah.
in game.
Excellent. Right, and your final game of shame. What's it going to be?
Yeah, you're all right with swearing, aren't you?
Go for it. Yeah.
Well, it's not going to come as much of a surprise. Rainbow fucking Islands.
I'm glad this one's come out because then I can get a bit of a moan about it as well. Yeah, I'm going to let you now. Before we get into this, you, me, and Lacosa have always said, "Oh, it's shit, 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 shit," and it's it's got nothing to do with the fact that you said it or he said it or I said it. I think we all genuinely dislike the game. We do
Yeah.
genuinely dislike it. I've got my reasons for disliking it, but I'm going to let you tell the listeners just what it is about the game that you just don't like.
Right. Well, on my list here, where I've given a system for every game, I've got Rainbow Islands dash any version.
Yeah.
Right. I was a huge fan of Bubble Bobble because I loved the cooperative player. You could play with your mate. And I remember when that came out on the Commodore 64, me and my mate Dean sitting there for hours playing our way through Bubble Bobble, and we had a good laugh doing it. Rainbow Islands comes out, the story of Bubble Bobble 2. No two-player thing at all. No fucking dragons. No blowing bubbles. And it's got that fucking god-awful fucking... was it Somewhere Over the Rainbow, all fucking cutesy and jollied up that sounds like a child's birthday party incarnate. All that's missing is a clown blowing up fucking balloons. There's bits of cake and fucking fruit flying about all over the place. The characters look fucking dopey. And the things you're fighting against are not in the least bit scary at all. They're just like cute. And why would I want to go around killing cute insects and things? It's just... But the main reason I hate the fucking game is because I didn't play it in the arcade. I had a little sort of sneak glimpse of it in like computer magazines, and I was really looking forward to having another, like a sequel to Bubble Bobble. More of the same. Great level stuff, level design, killing baddies. I was hoping, I thought it was going to be fucking brilliant. And when I played it, I was so disappointed. I think that's the biggest reason I hate it so much is the disappointment I got from it, because I love Bubble Bobble, and I still do. I've got a mate in Australia that every so often will send me the music because it's an earworm. We just like wind each other up with it. We love Bubble Bobble, but yeah, Rainbow Islands. Every conversion that was done of it, from the Spectrum right through to the 16 bits, all great versions. Some look better than others. The Commodore 64 version is particularly good, I think. But it's the fucking gameplay. It's just a disappointment, and I can't get past that. And I don't really like the rainbow mechanism of going up the levels and stuff like that.
Yep.
I just fucking detest it. It's an amalgamation of everything about it. The disappointment, the cutesiness.
Yeah.
To coin a phrase from Lucosa, nauseating cuteness or whatever he calls it. It's just, I don't know. I always wind people up on your Discord saying like it's a game for small girls. Because graphically, that's what it looks like it was designed for. It looks like it was designed for little girls that like cute things. There's nothing wrong with men liking cute stuff at all. It just fucking gets on my tits.
No,
I need a drink after.
yeah, you're going to have a lie down. Yeah, I would pretty much echo everything you've said. I played a lot of, excuse me, Bubble Bobble on the Atari ST. Thought it was a great game. It was fun to play. It's nice playing as a little kind of dinosaur. He looks quite nice. And like yourself, this new game was coming out, and I think it was probably Amiga Power. They had a readers top 100, and it was voted the best Amiga game ever. And it was, in fact, Lacosa told me this. Rainbow Islands is the biggest selling Amiga game ever. Sold more copies than
It's a great conversion. The Amiga version
it
is an
is.
absolutely fantastic
Absolutely,
conversion. It's just
absolutely.
a conversion of a shit game.
Yep, yep. For me, as you say, it was it would be a bit like, I don't know, bringing out a sequel for International Karate Plus, and you buy it, and the idea of the game is to I don't know, stack up blocks and carry
Or
them to
ballet
a fucking
dancing.
on, put them onto a table or something. It's like, man, it's nothing like the game. They changed everything. Eh, Could could they have made it less shit? Well, for starters, for me, if they'd got rid of that really irritating little character, like it looks like a fucking, I don't know, a little schoolboy with these big, massive, bulbous eyes, and he's got a kind of horrible hair. He's not appealing at all. If you played the part of a dragon or the cute bub or whatever it was called, that would have been a start. As you say, the you're killing things that are not particularly offensive. I suppose you could say the same about Bubble Bobble, but that was kind of fun. But the overriding thing that I cannot get on with it at all is the game mechanics. You walk to the side, you press fire button, and it shoots out this rainbow that goes up and down, and then you start. If you keep walking, you end up walking up it, and then a baddie will go underneath, and then the rainbow will disappear, and you'll fall down, and you'll lose a life. And then you can also, firing the rainbow will like kill things, and it's just you can use the rainbow. I just find it utterly, utterly uncontrollable. If they'd just given you straightforward pushing up to jump, or even better, so a second fire button, jump in and gave you a gun to shoot stuff, it would have been all right. But it's a game mechanic. I just find it completely clumsy. Find it uncontrollable. But as you say, factor in the fact that the character that you're playing a part of, it's like when you watch a film, you've got to have, you've got to like, you've got to be endeared towards the main character or the character that you're playing. But when you've instantly got a dislike of the thing that you're controlling, I know that shouldn't affect the gameplay, but when you instantly dislike it, then it's not a good start. And then you add in the irritating music. When anytime I've tried to play, I mean, I remember getting again, it was a copy. Thank God. I remember reading the review of it, going to the market, buying it for like £3, rushing home to play it, and I'm like, oh, I didn't enjoy that. Wait a minute, I'll need to try again. I'm obviously missing something. And I tried and I tried and I tried and I tried to get into it, and I just thought, I'm obviously missing something. And quite clearly, you, me, and Lacosa are missing something, because it's the highest rated game. People rave about it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, and it's got nothing to do with just, it's a cute game. I know Lacosa's not a fan of cute games. I don't mind games that are cute if they're decent games. Bubble Bobble, but no, there's just there's just something about that game that I just cannot get to grips with, and the fact
Yeah,
that
I mean,
people rave about it so much as well just irritates me.
well, yeah, I mean, I'm no stranger to cute games. Obviously, Bubble Bobble. I think Rodland is a terrific game. Um,
Mm,
I think I
spot
think
on.
what it stems to. I don't think I would dislike it as much if it was just called Rainbow Islands and had no link to Bubble Bobble at all. If it was a completely separate game by itself, because if I remember rightly, after that they made Parasol Stars, which is back with the dragons again, and it's proper Bubble Bobble gameplay. So
Yeah,
clearly, we're not the first people to moan about it, because it was that successful in the arcade. Why would they take a step backwards? I don't know. I just don't like it. I've never got on with it. I've always thought, well, this is shit, and yeah, it's just not for me. Well, I shouldn't say it's shit. That's not fair because it is a well-made game. I don't like it. It would be the better way to put it. No, fuck it, it's shit.
Yeah. No, but I mean, as far as conversions go, I mean, the Commodore Amiga is it looks. I think from what I've read, it is absolutely arcade perfect. So no disrespect to Andrew Braybrook for what he's done. His team pumped out an absolute sublime conversion of an utterly piss game.
Well, yeah, and hats off to my mate Jason Page for managing to completely replicate the most annoying tune in video game history. Well done, Jason.
Ah, dear. Yeah, I'm glad that one's out there anyway. So yeah, 3 absolute doozies. Just remind me again, you've got Super Mario 64, Street Fighter 2 on the Amiga, and obviously Rainbow Islands. So is it every version of Rainbow Islands? Yeah.
Yeah, all of them. From the arcade right
the
down
arcade.
to the Spectrum version. All of them.
Yeah. Let's eradicate the arcade one, which means the rest of them would never have been made. So anyway, yeah, listen, that's the.
I was going to say before we move off of that, I know that when you put this up on YouTube, there's going to be a load of comments arguing the toss against that, but this is my choice and it's my opinion. So everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Just because I think it's shit, you don't have to. I mean, there's people that buy records by Taylor Swift. I don't understand that either. These things happen. We're all different.
Well, they're all quite clearly wrong anyway. But yeah. Anyway, listen, mate. Thank you so much for taking time out to join me. I'm sure people would. It's great to have you back. I know people have been, we've missed you. I know you and I do keep in touch regularly, but it's been good to get you back for doing our stuff, mate. The door is always open anytime you fancy coming on for a waffle or a chums talk pish. So always great. And I feel quite lucky that I've managed to coax you back out, even just for one last time until the next time.
Well, no, I was always going to do it. It's just a lot of life things got in the way, and I've since we decided to do this, a lot of stuff has happened, and then I've moved house, and so because I've moved 50 odd miles away, and don't drive, I've subsequently started a new job this year. So there's been a lot of stuff. I mean, as it stands, what time are we on now? It's just gone 10 o'clock. I've got to get up for work in 6 hours. So, but the payoff for that is finishing at 2:30 in the afternoon. So it's all good.
Listen, mate, thank you very, very much for joining me. It's always a pleasure to have you on. And finally, folks, thank you very, very much for listening.